Welcome, everybody. We're so excited to have you here tonight with Live from Music Row 411. We have a very, very special treat for you tonight. We kind of have a secret agent to give you tonight. We have, as you know, the title is Writing Lyrics with AI, and most of you know that AI stands for artificial intelligence. And that is one of the most rapidly expanding fields within the entertainment space and in the business space and in our world space. And we are truly becoming George Jetson land. But one of the things Music Row 411 is very proud of is we want you to meet these amazing people that are creating these tools and these companies and these platforms to help you as a creator, as a songwriter, as a musician, advance yourself, advance your craft, your music, and help you solve the problems of writing the best song. So that's why it's so super cool that tonight we have the Silicon Valley Woman of Influence for 2020, Dr. Maya Ackerman. And Dr. Ackerman, who we will refer to as Maya, has, oh my goodness, she has a resume that looks like, you know, Taylor Swift or Beyonce's, discography and performance list in science and music. She has published, she's internationally known and recognized as an AI expert. She's a college professor. She is in demand, advising many, many people on many, many things. And we'll let her tell you about that. And then what we're going to do is talk very specifically, let her show us how her baby LyricStudio actually helps songwriters and musicians expand their capabilities to write better lyrics and take that vision and expand it out with the help of AI. Now, the cherry on the top of the sundae is the fact that Maya is also a singer songwriter herself. So it's not just a scientist going, oh, I think you need this. I think this is take this thing and plug it in, and I'm telling you to do it because I'm a scientist. No, she gets it. She's a creator. She comes from the same place within you that all of us that create things, especially music, do. So I think you're really in for a really amazing and interesting discussion tonight. And we welcome you if you're on watching us on the replay. We're so glad to have you. I have a feeling this will be one of our expert series that will get played over and over and over again because this is the real deal. This is the cutting edge you know what. And so at this point, and then Christina is a Music Row 411 team captain for our social media and just sort of all of our interactive um, functions that we do with our team. And she's also a Californian and a songwriter herself and very, very talented. And she too is very interested in music tech, and she and I both are big supporters of music tectonics. And Dimitri is a good friend of mine. So, without further ado, I'm going to ask Maya a couple of questions so that Christina can get into the real meat of the story. So, welcome again, Maya. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the wonderful introduction. I was really moved. It's a
Oh,
pleasure to be
well,
here.
I'm a founder, you're a founder, it's kind of like I'm a pepper, you're a pepper. But music tech is really exciting these days. And one of the most exciting things to me, being an advisor to music tech companies, is to see women like yourself that are just so remarkable, so innovative, so brainy, you know. Oh my God. It's like if I could get into your head, I might never come out. I would go down all of those, things, and I'm just fascinated. If you can tell us what prompted you to go into this amazing field of artificial intelligence, because it's not just your same old chemistry and physics. And can you give us just a very short capsule about why you decided to do that and how you did it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got into computer science originally because I was fascinated by this experience of creating something that does not exist, creating something that then acts autonomously in some form. That's talking about like the simplest programs that I was creating as a high school student. Um, and I was always drawn to the arts, but I couldn't actually find a way to combine computer science with arts until much later, until I actually became a professor. I originally went into artificial intelligence actually to do theoretical foundations of cluster analysis, which is one of the foundational aspects of artificial intelligence. And some of my earliest work was really kind of dealing with very mathy things, so where computer science intersects not with art but with mathematics. And my entire PhD is on that. And the pivot to the intersection between music and creative AI happened several years after my PhD.
When did you start being a songwriter?
So that was sort of two parallel lives during my PhD. So I actually had a kid at the beginning of my PhD. And once he was about 2 or 3, I guess I needed another thing in my life. And I started thinking,
because you're a type A and we all have 7,000 things because one is not enough, right?
so the kid and you know, the PhD, I guess that was not enough. So I added learning opera on top of it, which was completely brand new for me. I could not sing when I started taking lessons, but somehow, and that's beyond me how that happened, within 9 months, I started singing semi-professionally.
Soprano, contralto.
Soprano, I'm a soprano. A little bit of a dramatic soprano.
What's your favorite opera? Are you a Verdi fan? Are you a Wagner?
Puccini. Yeah, Modern Butterfly. Oh
I won't sing, but
no, not right now. I'm not warmed up.
So okay, maybe there's a Disney movie in this with opera and AI, kind of a 2023 Beauty and the Beast with an A. Instead of Gaston, we have AI, whoever he is, and we have AI Belle.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, there were actually a few projects, that one of which I saw and another one that I was engaged in, that sort of combined AI with opera. There's definitely a lot more we can do there.
Well, I think Christina told you one of the companies I advise that came through Project Music is another one who is a big part of our family here at Music Row 411 are some neuroscientists that have created a predictive algorithm, an AI algorithm that will tell people which section of music they prefer with variances. So if you present them with this and it sounds, instead of going up 2 notes, it comes down 2 notes or whatever, or the lyric changes, the algorithm measures the dopamine and all of the brain stuff.
Oh, that's right. I think I've heard of that startup. Yes.
It's called Secret Chord Laboratories, and I'd love to introduce you. But anyway, that's a story for another day. Let's go back to you. So, when did you combine this love to create LyricStudio? And Christina, I'm going to have you take over and ask the music questions that our community are dying to know. So take it away.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Beth, for that introduction, and Maya for answering those questions. It's so great to meet you from the Music Tectonics. When we welcome Maya because she can bring the latest music technology knowledge to inspire songwriters who want to learn more about the trends in music tech. So so just a few questions, other questions I wanted to start off. What was one thing, Maya, that drove you to love computer science?
Yeah, so with computer science originally, it was really that sense of creating something that can then operate on its own. And I'm talking about really some of the simplest programs you can build in the beginning, stuff that, plays like a little game, stuff like this. I'm talking about nothing overly complicated when I was in
Yeah.
high school. But I thought it was amazing. I mean, you sit there and you formulate your thoughts into these logical commands, and then the program works. And it felt like a miracle to me. So that was originally drew me to it. I mean, my motivation has evolved so much over the years, but that was the inception.
That's awesome. Yeah. And that started, was it back in high school or
Yeah, that was high school.
younger?
At grade 10, I started leaning towards studying computer science.
Right. That's awesome. And with just after that, and what have decided you to find something to utilize artificial intelligence to help songwriters create lyrics?
Yeah, so that took a very long time. As I mentioned, I learned how to sing opera of all things during college. And I felt that as my sort of side career as a musician was starting to move, I felt that I needed to write my own songs. And I really wanted to. I
Mhm.
really felt that there was something I wanted to express as a singer. I wanted to sing my own words.
Mhm.
I didn't really quite know how to do it. So I thought, okay, I'm going to learn how to do it. I can figure it out. So I
Right.
learned how to use the DAW. That wasn't too bad. I can produce music. Um, And I felt that I could write lyrics originally. In retrospect, I don't agree that I could write lyrics back then. But where I really got stuck, and I mean got stuck to a point where I could not move forward, were vocal melodies. So, taking text like, it's so amazing to be here on Music Row, and making it into, it's so amazing to be here on Music Row, right? I couldn't quite come up with these different ideas of how you could sing words, right? I could do the background music for it, I could produce it, I could sing and record and all of that, but that gel, that glue that connects the music to the words, I couldn't do it. I mean, granted, I tried. It just sounded horrible, and I was too embarrassed to ever even record it. And then I was actually kind of starting to give up a little bit on this side dream of mine to write songs. And then I attended the International Conference on Computational Creativity, which I have attended every year since then. This was back in 2015. And somebody in passing, really in passing, said this idea that, oh, and of course, a computer can be a co-creative partner. I was fairly new to the community, so this perspective was new for me. Wait, a computer can be a co-creative partner? It doesn't have to just like take everything over and do everything by itself. And on that spot, it was one of these crazy moments where one idea just sparks one after another really, really, really fast. It kind of came together in my head. I have to make a system that would help me create these vocal melodies. And I came back from the conference, spoke to the people who ended up becoming my co-founders, and within a few months, we had a prototype. So you would type in some words, and it would give you a whole bunch of these melodies. And suddenly, I could write songs. And that was crazy. That was a really one of the most surreal experiences of my life, getting to that point.
That's Maya. That's just amazing, Maya. It's just like one idea after another, right? And like the start of new beginnings, and just that's amazing to see that. So it's there's some questions too that we got from the live audience that I feel like we can go into. There's a person who asked, can we develop music that targets personality using psychometrics?
Music that targets personality. So basically music that would fit someone's personality. Yeah.
Maybe that's
Well,
what
okay.
it,
Maybe that's
yeah.
what it means. So yeah, that's sort of a fascinating direction. I work with an amazing person named Galen Buckwalter, sort of can understand people's personality really well. And we definitely could feed personality information, especially if we could learn then how the personality fits with music preferences as a previous data set. We could then very likely be able to predict or
Wow.
even create music that people would enjoy based on who they are. That's really intriguing. I like that question.
Right. Yeah. And I believe it was Nancy Deckend, or I think from Sooner, or I think they were asking, they were demoing their products. Yes, we're going to do a live demo with LyricStudio in a little bit, and we'll get through just a few questions with Maya. So yeah, thanks for answering that, Maya. The other questions I have is for AI and music. So how do you see these products benefit creators in the next 5-10 years?
I believe that over the next 5 years, not even 10, musical AI, assistive musical technology is going to become ubiquitous. And I think that's because the landscape is ready to view AI as a partner rather than an autonomous agent. We see way too much glorifications of AI. I think that it's not interesting enough for AI to make music by itself. Even if there is somewhat of an audience for it, I think ultimately humans want to create. We have a really strong drive to tell our stories, and we love telling them through music, and we love listening to other people's stories through music. So I feel that the real role of AI is to be in the background and share its strength in the creative process in order to elevate human creativity. And we're already seeing that, and I believe we're going to see more and more and more of that over the next 5 years. Until it becomes normal, until it becomes as normal as using a DAW.
Right. And it's almost like creators probably have to get used to the AI writing lyrics. And that's the other question I was thinking of is how do you foresee AI taking over the writing and creative process? Or have you come across any people who've dealt with that? And
yeah, you bring up a really interesting point. So I don't think creators are ever going to want AI to write the lyrics for them, at least not creators as a group. I believe that what people are looking for and what I'm seeing are users, the way that I see our users use our product, is they want just enough support in just the right way so that they can express themselves. That's why it's so important for the person to retain autonomy. It's always about the person making every single choice and only using help in a way that's actually helpful and doesn't actually end up taking over. Nobody would want the kind of assistant that works in the background just so that at the right moment they can kind of like jump up and take over and replace you. I mean, nobody wants that. And as a community, artists definitely don't want that with AI. And I completely agree with them. Completely agree with them. Could not agree more. What I really want people to realize is how powerful this technology is in sparking our own creativity, how insanely powerful this tech is. And I hope that's something we can share today during the demo.
Right. That's really good. That's a good point there. It does make sense that having the AI co-creator, they're able to guide it step by step, and having the trust also, with the system, people will develop that and get acquainted with it and learn to love it. Work with AI, right?
It's really fast. It's not like some kind of long, tedious thing where it's like, people get in, they try it for a few minutes, and they get it. Because when it's done right, then it's easy to get into and it's easy to understand what's happening. Yeah, so you'll see. This is minutes, not days.
Yes. Yeah. And it's the other questions that I have coming up is, so how do you see AI in music going forward, or the landscape and any changes coming?
So what's really interesting actually is all the different ways that it can interface with so many different products. So for example, we can think about loops. People keep using the same loops nowadays, right? And sometimes you can recognize a loop on the radio. It's like, oh my goodness, I've seen this loop before. And I still think that loops are a super cool, method. But one thing that AI can do that I'm sort of really excited about is it can make it so that it can help generate loops, and so that you never ever have to use a loop that's been used before. This is something actually very natural for AI to do. And then it needs to be done also with any aspect of musical AI in a way that gives person the ultimate control. And that's what I really want to see more, so that you use it, and as you use it, you actually become more independent. As you use it, you're like, oh, I think I want this part of the loop to be a little bit different, and you can tweak it. And then suddenly one day you realize, oh my God, I can make the whole loop myself. And so it's actually AI that empowers you to be independent from it, which is really a new way of thinking about the role that AI plays in this ecosystem.
Right, and it's almost like AI teaching a new skill too.
Exactly, but in a way that's not laborious, in a way that's sort of like learned through play, learned by doing. It's beautiful. We kind of watch our users get more and more independent in lyrics writing and coming back more for inspiration, more when they're stuck, whereas they may have started using it very, very heavily in the beginning as they were building confidence in themselves. We all have music and lyrics in us, and AI can sort of help us tune into that and make this learning process really enjoyable and really smooth.
Yeah, that's amazing. So we have some other questions too. Can such creativity be transferable to other medium? Someone asked from the live audience.
Oh, definitely, yeah. So I love music, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be just music. Computational creativity as a field, it's sort of a subfield of artificial intelligence. That's the best way of thinking about it. It applies to visual art. It applies to storytelling. It applies to dance. And actually, one of the most interesting challenges, and something that I hope to see over the next decade, is sort of a marriage between the way that people who want to commercialize creative AI think about it and the way that academics think about it. Because machines have so much creative capacity, and it's really interesting creativity that they have that's not identical to human creativity. And there's so much potential to help people, but there's sort of this disconnect between academia and industry. And so this amazing stuff doesn't end up in the hands of creators. I think this sort of challenge that you find, the sort of ivory tower of academia, that's just the way it works. And so I really hope to see this marriage between creative AI and industry, and see this movement forward across many different creative industries.
That's amazing. Yeah, just to see that like crossover, and that's just possible. So there's another few other questions from the live audience is, how do you think publishers will react to an AI co-writer?
That's a really good question. I have a very, very strong opinion about this that I hope you'll enjoy. I think AI should not take any credit. I think AI should be the ghostwriter, that sort of turned tool. I think because creative AI is such an endless source of inspiration, there's really no need for it to become a co-writer and take royalties. This is sort of a layer that we don't have to go into as AI creators. And as far as like adoption, for those of you who are founding companies in the audience, as far as adoption, it's so much easier to get adoption of AI products if you don't try to also take a cut of the royalties. So that's LyricStudio is your co-writer, but not as far as the publishing of the work is concerned. It doesn't want any of your royalties. And that was kind of something that I learned founding.
Yeah, that's great. It's almost like someone mentioned it, AI is kind of like the ghostwriter in a way.
Yeah. Right. Well, it's the ghost helper.
Right. And the other questions is, does the AI remember what it's recorded or what's being recorded?
Well, it depends. Memory is fairly easy with technology, but recently there's sort of this rising realization of how important privacy is. And so what we're seeing in more and more products is the ability to completely erase history, right? And definitely the way that we do things is as memory-free as possible. We don't want it to remember or keep track of any more than what is necessary for the user. Because the way that creative AI works doesn't actually require storing all of our stuff and memorizing it all. I addressed sort of the right question here.
Yeah, it's so great to know that AI, it's like, it can slightly remember things, but also just even like help with the creative process, right? You know, just like helping with the lyrics and the themes. We'll do a walkthrough in a little bit. And And going to that, the question is, with LyricStudio, what you've created, is it just mainly what type of music creators mostly would use that program?
So how would music creators utilize LyricStudio? Is that the question?
Yeah. So is it could also producers and vocalists also use it in some way?
Absolutely. So we have, I love how diverse our users are in sort of on many different parameters, in particular in the way that they interface with music. So it's a very, very wide spectrum. So we have people who've never really written music before, in particular, never wrote lyrics before. They sort of come in, they check it out, and suddenly they realize that they can write lyrics. And that's really magical. That's a magical moment. But at the other extreme, at the other extreme, we have singer-songwriters who are commissioned to write music, whose creative muscles are being stretched to the extreme. Sometimes people have to write 3 to 5 songs a day. Can you imagine writing 5 songs a day? I cannot. So some of them use LyricStudio to write songs for other people. And of course, we have everything in between. So we have singers, we have a lot of rappers, producers, songwriters, guitar players, the full spectrum.
Right. It's also like, even for me, I tend to love writing lyrics and creating melodies, but sometimes it's definitely difficult for me to complete the songs and put, the harmony with the vocals and the lyrics together. It takes a while. And I believe that that's just with LyricStudio, it just can help a lot with the creative process.
So I think it'd be really amazing if we did a demo and then hopped back to questions, if that's
right. Yeah. So Maya, would you like to show us do a walkthrough of LyricStudio?
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, if we could have that displayed on the screen. Amazing. Okay, so I really want to do that together as much as possible. So you can really feel how interactive this is. We're going to do it by topics. You can actually, when you create a new song, let's pick this up. You can go by topics or by genre. I want to go by topics. That's really fun. Okay, so people can interact with us, right? So if you see a topic that you like, or if you want to see, if you want me to write a song about a different topic that's not displayed here, just type it up. And that way we'll pick a couple of topics and get started. So as soon as we get some suggestions from the audience, we can get started. Otherwise, we can have Christina make some choices.
Yes. Anyone, feel free to share some themes to get started.
Christina, what do you think?
Okay. So yeah, we can start on dream, maybe a topic of dream.
Dream is good.
Mm-hmm. And we'll probably get some lyrics from the audience.
Okay, one more.
And action music for gaming.
Ooh,
maybe where's that? There is something.
All right, dream and Christina, give me one more topic.
And then maybe about just power.
Dream and power, I like that. All right, so now you'll see how it actually works. When the world is at your feet. So this generated completely original ideas for us. In fact, if you lose one of them, you're never, ever, ever going to see it again. So even if you give it the same topics, you never get the same suggestions. The world is at your feet, and what a beautiful day. I have no choice but to be. That's kind of deep. It's kind of like a variation on to be or not to be. Behind those eyes of fire. What do you like, Christina? What speaks to you? We're making a song for Christina here. It's gonna make you strong. We'll set the sky on fire. Ooh. Maybe in California we can't go that way. What do you think? Which one would you like to start with? I think a lot of them are good. Christina, can you? I can't hear you all of a sudden.
Sorry, excuse me. Yeah. Did you hear me say? I said behind those eyes of fire.
Behind
Those eyes of fire.
those eyes of
There
fire.
you go.
We actually have a few good ones here, so we could keep going with these. But let's
Yeah.
take into account what we selected, so I can generate now based on that. Behind those eyes of fire, in the eyes of a child, it's enough to grow higher. Can you feel it burning? Fire becomes a desire. In a night of desire, this is going in its own direction. Okay. Do you like any of these?
Yeah. So it's enough to grow higher.
It's enough. Do you want to edit it a little bit? It's enough
Behind those eyes. See.
to make it grow higher. It's kind of good like this. So in principle, you could go in and edit, whatever you want.
Right.
Enough to grow higher. It's like we're going for a rock song.
Right. A power walk.
Go higher and higher. It's a touch of a hand stuck in the wire. Let's make it generate just based on the last line. And let's push up wackiness. It's always fun. Kind of like give it permission to be more creative. And if we pull it down, then it sort of sticks more on topic.
Oh, that's great. So you can actually adjust, as just you were showing, you can adjust the wackiness and then.
Yeah, the wackiness and the syllable, right? I actually kind of like this one.
Okay.
Sometimes, especially as you're writing a song, just one word can be inspiring. It's like, it's coming down to the wire. Like I'm seeing here, the future, there's a future on a wire. Or maybe you can say, my future is on the wire. I feel like that's kind of like a high stakes. So very often, like, especially as you get better at writing, this is more about helping you see all these different possibilities rather than necessarily taking the lines exactly as they are. So over time, even somebody brand new, even somebody, we've had a study, a bereavement study, actually, it was really interesting, where people, like multiple participants said that there's no way they could write a song. And within the very first few lines, they started writing their own stuff. Because it kind of builds up your confidence too, if you're new to this. Okay, behind those eyes of fire, it's enough to grow high.
Someone suggested it ain't gonna last forever.
Ooh,
The next line.
Okay, now let's make it something that maybe rhymes with forever. So we can, a little bit of that kind of rhyme. Behind those eyes of fire. Future. Okay, forever. Make it better. Let's make it like always together. Ain't gonna last forever. It's kind of a very interactive process. And when you're doing it yourself, you can really like sit there and consider your options and kind of get into the zone with it. Oh, that's kind of interesting.
Maybe the next one, put it back together. Oh yeah.
That's the one. Christina, you're tuned here. Okay, so maybe like let us put it back together behind those. Okay, let's see. Maybe we could kind of tighten this up a little bit. Just kind of show you how to do this. And again, different artists use the system differently. Behind those eyes of fire, I see my future on the wire. It ain't gonna last forever. Let us put it back together. It's something. It's kind of cute, I think.
It's something to start off.
Yeah, it's kind of like sort of like a little bit of a tense relationship, right?
Yeah, and so like just going through what you've also have with the lyrics, or we have here. Could you show us a little bit with the settings and what each of those? You said there's certain options you can.
Definitely.
Syllables and.
Let's see. Actually, by the way, in the meantime, if any of you would like to share a line of lyrics that you've written, I'd love to feed it into LyricStudio and see how it reacts to your style. So feel free to put in quotes any line of lyrics that you've written, or even something you come up with right now, and see how it reacts specifically to you. That's the most fun. All right, so one thing we can see, let's pull wackiness, let's say, all the way down and go back to, it ain't gonna last forever, right? So let's go with that. So like low wackiness, right? So low wackiness is sort of gently asking you to stay on track. I can hold myself together. In the end, we all have to be together. That's kind of interesting. I don't want to be alone anymore. So it's really staying on topic really, really tightly. Sometimes we're using words here. But then if we go all the way up with the same line, it's kind of like it has permission to explore. It goes wide. But I feel like it don't matter. It ain't gonna last forever, but I feel like it don't matter, right? Like you're kind of going more rap here, a little bit more attitude. I like it too. So we've done the same thing ever. No matter where I go, pour me some water sometimes, yeah. And you'll never let it end. That's kind of interesting, actually. I kind of want to take this one. It's like, it's almost like, feels a little bit, you know, like those relationships that keep going back and forth, you keep breaking up with somebody, but it just like, you keep going back to them. That's kind of where I feel this song is pulling us. Right. All right, well, let me show you, something pretty crazy. So when I demo this, let's go based on this last line for a moment. When I demo this for kids, they do stuff like, I like potatoes. I swear, this very line, I was very surprised to see that put into LyricStudio. And when you write like this, LyricStudio picks up on the style, and I think we should probably pull down wackiness a little bit. And it sort of understands who it's working with, understands the kind of style you want to go for, understands the kind of topics you want to stick with. I like to smoke cigarettes, maybe not with kids. And I like to go to the river. I like potatoes, and I like to go to the river, right? So like super basic, so it responds super basic. But then if you go like super poetic, if you go like, sparkle in your eyes makes my dreams come true. I'm literally imagining the super poetic thing here. I'll probably remove this rhyming condition. And you'll see kind of like it understands the style that you're going for. And I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. The stars in the sky are going to be there now, right? So it's sort of, it gets it. It gets that this is like, you want to go like more poetic, and it does it all implicitly. So it can pick up all kind of different elements in your writing. The rhyme of my love coming true. Oh, how beautiful is that? The rhyme of my love. Oh. I like that line. I want to do something with it. And we had like songwriters, been stuck on a song for a year or more, like abandoned the song. I'm sure the songwriters in the audience have had that experience, just like gave up on it, and within 10 minutes they're done with the song. So all you need sometimes is just a whole bunch of ideas, just to see different places, and you can go, and then you can figure it out yourself. I love you till your eyes are blue. This is so.
That's a bit extreme.
I don't know what it's doing. It's kind of weird.
It's definitely really wacky there.
Definitely very wacky. Maybe you went too far there a little bit. Okay. All right, cool.
So that's cool that it just matches. It can just tell right off, even with just putting a word, it gets the theme behind the song.
Yeah, exactly. So we got some lines here. If we're both honest, right? So let's try this. If we are both honest, right? So let's generate based on that. Is it based on just last line? Okay. If we're both honest. I have no idea what it's gonna do. And we should just let it happen. We'll take our chances on love. Oh, that's nice. I kind of like that. And if we both confess. And you can also take like just a fragment. You don't have to take the whole line. It's like, then we both confess every problem. You can just be like, if we both confess, right? If that kind of fits more what you're going for. Let's drive on more based on this line. But I know a sign when I see it. Ooh, that's a good one. Let's try that one as well. Just kind of like showing you all the different places it can go. Okay, we're still, if we're both honest, no one can take the blame. How cool is that? There's no need to speak my mind. Ooh,
yeah, that's extreme there.
Yeah, and the good thing is that you never have to take anything it suggests, right? Like, so if anything goes in any way you don't like, it was funny, one person who played with our system said that it's like the co-writer, but you don't have to worry about its feelings. So you only go for the stuff you like. All right. I know a sign when I see it. I know, just another suggestion that I'm seeing here.
Yeah.
I know a sign when I see it. I like that line. You can see the real thing. You can see the real thing. I kind of like that. And sometimes instead of like generating based on the first, then second, then third, etc., then I just generate based on the same line. And that's sometimes how I build it. I kind of keep going back to a line I really like. And actually, that's, in that sense, it's better to use LyricStudio on desktop because it's easier to kind of highlight. I feel it coming of age. I know a place we can go. Funny. It's one thing I want to fall in love with. Let's try one more time. And you can really kind of like, really the process is to keep regenerating until it feels right for you. And sometimes I get one line, oh, I make my own decisions. I like that. I know a sign when I see it. You can see the real thing. I make my own decisions. Now let's generate based on kind of making another little hook here. Let's do one more here. And I have songs that I've written almost entirely with LyricStudio, and I have songs where one line is from LyricStudio. It's like all over the place. I wrote a song about like to be a girl. So it's like, to be a girl, and then it gave me like a diamond or a pearl. So that's the only line for the whole song. LyricStudio, like diamond or a pearl, but it was just right. Because I just had so many ideas flowing that day. Okay, I know a sign when I see it. You can see the real thing. I make my own decisions. Kind of went. I kind of like the word advice here. No advice. I need no. Sorry, kind of a little funky, but that's where it took me. All right. Every time when I see it, you can see the real thing. I can make my own decisions. I need no advice from you. That's where it took me. Maybe somebody else was going like in a totally different place. And I love seeing songwriters use it because like I learned so much from their way of thinking by looking at how they interact with the system. It's also really fun to kind of like use it with a couple of people. All right. I mean, we can hop over to questions now, or if anybody else wants to give a line of lyrics of their own, or just to see what it would do for a specific sentence.
Yeah. So with the settings, someone has if AI, we'll go to this question that says, if AI doesn't get royalties, do we get into a situation where artists without AI get left in the dust, both artistically and financially, with current compensation?
Yeah, so one thing that's really, really important, just understanding what it means to be an artist, is to make this accessible. And part of making it accessible is making it affordable. It would be a very, very big problem if this was behind, well, there's two ways that things can be inaccessible, two ways in particular. So one way is that, let's say, only certain people know about it. But even if you know about something but you can't afford it, then it's effectively inaccessible. So it needs to be affordable, and it very much is right now. So in general, I want to see musical AI as affordable as, as pretty much all other music tools today on average. It needs to be in that same sort of price range so that it becomes equally accessible to everybody. So it doesn't give more successful people an even bigger advantage over everybody else.
That's great. It's thanks for showing that, answering those questions, and Maya. And just another question we have. Maya, can you tell us about any music supervisors who use the product?
Music supervisors. So we do have sort of people, like music agents in particular. We had quite a few people reach out and sort of ask for multiple accounts. And the idea there is that they want like their people, their artists to have access to this. And sometimes sort of like helping the artists that they work with discover sort of new forms of expressions for themselves. Sometimes we get stuck in certain ways of expressing ourselves. I know myself as an artist, especially like melodies, before I built my own systems, I would keep kind of thinking in the same way about it. And very often, even very successful artists, you can kind of like get stuck in the way you found like one thing that works and you kind of get stuck in it a little bit. And some of the music supervisors we have, some of the people we have who guide others in their music careers, they want their artists to kind of like break out of their own patterns. And there's really nothing better than these sort of generative AI technologies for finding new ways to express yourself that are authentic to you.
Thanks, Maya. Is there any more questions from the live audience? Okay, so where can our folks get this?
Yeah, so this is LyricStudio.net. LyricStudio.net. Right there. There's also a free trial, so you don't need to commit to anything until you have a chance to play with it a little bit yourself.
Yes, and just to let you guys know, LyricStudio is also 40% off right now. And as always, you can check out lyricstudio.net. Maya also has her website, maya-ackerman.com, if you want to check her out. She also has a couple of YouTube videos as well. And last question I remember, is there anything you're thinking of launching maybe?
There's so much more that we want to do. I mentioned in particular the melody technology. We've been playing around with it for a long time. Yeah, there's a lot more that we have planned, particularly on kind of tying lyrics with music and music itself, the integrating AI into the music writing process, making the backing track, which is so much of music making. So there's a lot more coming on the horizon. Really, really excited about that.
That's great. So the melodies and also like that involve like harmony or pitch or.
Amazingly enough, sort of any sequence of music, almost any sequence you think of on the composition side. We can apply generative AI to help people. The way I think about it is really exploring the creative space. So if you think about a bass line, or if you think about the guitar line or the chords, all of these are sequences. And there is this massive creative space of creative possibilities, right? And the AI can sort of help us quickly explore that space in a way that fits what we're creating. So it's very, very broad. The ideas are very, very broad. And we hope to build out a lot of this technology over the next few years.
That's great. And just a last question I was thinking of for you. What advice would you give to songwriters who are interested in learning more about music technology or just growing their knowledge of artificial intelligence? What would you recommend? Any books or anything specifically that would grow their knowledge of the trends of AI? Or
this is such a great question. So my favorite community for this is International Association on Computational Creativity. So we have the International Conference on Computational Creativity, which is an annual conference. And if you're really interested in the tech part, I would recommend that you kind of check out that community. So the International Conference on Computational Creativity, that's happening in the fall. This is really a lot, it's quite heavily technical, but even just poking around that website and seeing what's on the horizon, seeing what's already possible. So much is already possible that has not been commercialized. And it'd be wonderful to have more artists involved in that space. There are also some really amazing galleries that overlap with creatively generated music and art that NVIDIA puts on. So really kind of starting to see these emerging trends of really, really interesting technology gradually being shared more broadly.
That's great. Thanks for the advice, Maya. So yeah, we thank you, Maya, for your time and for just being here and answering all these questions. Any of you guys are want to know more about songwriting and writing better songs and lyrics, booking better gigs, and building a better bands, feel free to subscribe to our channel on YouTube and Facebook. And also check out for more tips and also weekly freebies on musicworld401.com. You can go up to the top right, find help here to learn more for our resources. So thanks, Maya, for your time.
Thank you so much. It was a real pleasure.
Christina, awesome job. Maya, I feel like we could talk to you for weeks. I do have one last question for you. Have you been had any interest or exploratory conversations with the major music publishers, and do they look at this as something that might give them an advantage to work with the writers that are signed to their companies? Has that evolved to that place yet?
So we've had a number of conversations. There are some music publishers that are using our stuff already, which has been really fun. But I think bigger picture, the music industry is shifting, and those of us who are inside of it, especially on the business end, I mean, we're seeing these massive acquisitions, we're seeing these huge changes, and everybody knows that AI is going to play a key role in the near future of music. This is not some kind of long-range vision. And so I'm really, over the past few months, I'm sensing this shift in the way that big players are reacting to musical AI. And I think that's wonderful. And I think that we just need to keep our eye on the fact that it always needs to support the artist. Stay very, very clear on that path, that the human is always in control. In fact, I want to see AI integrated in a way that gives people more control than they had before, more autonomy than they had before. Perhaps moving beyond canned loops into stuff that's more personalized, that gets people deeper into the creation of chords, gives them more control. And I think that the future holds great things if we can utilize this incredibly powerful tool in a way that genuinely benefits artists.
Do you have any other things coming down the pike, like add-ons or plugins or enhancements to LyricStudio? Because I really can imagine this going into not just generating lyrics, but helping develop scores for whether it's sync usage in streaming shows or movies. And I mean, it would seem to me, I'm not a scientist, but that the possibilities are as large as whoever's imagination is taking charge.
Absolutely. It's everything you mentioned. It's creating loops, it's creating backing tracks, it's creating background music for movies, for video games. It's the lyrics and it's the vocal melodies and it's everything in between. And I really want to see all of this done while keeping the human artist in the center. This is what's really, really critical, because it's so easy to fall in the trap of glorifying the AI itself, of saying, oh, look, it can kind of do this by itself. Maybe it's not doing it very well, but it's sort of doing something by itself. And it's so amazing. And I've seen so many articles titled "The First Song Made with AI Ever," but it's really, I think the real power and the way we should take it is for all of these different applications, find a way to empower the artist.
Well,
And
I have one request before we sign off. Do you have you have so many publications, wise wisdom, some are very academic, some are very scientific, but if you had a piece that sort of spoke to what you've just talked about, would you consider sharing that with us so we could then send it to our community to sort of get this overview that you're talking about from a wider lens, so that they can see how the applications and where they're headed? And it's a lot of information coming online for people to think about. And I think when you have someone as brilliant as yourself, who has already done the heavy lifting on talking about it, researching it, and then putting it into a document that can be shared. And as I said before, if you didn't hear me say it, Maya is an internationally recognized expert in the field of AI and virtual reality and augmented reality are all charging down the road full force, and they're all going to be integrated. So, as creators, the reason we brought you Dr. Ackerman tonight is because you do need to know about these things, and they really, you can get the jump. By using tools like this, you can really get a jump on your career. Um, does anybody else have? We want to be respectful of Maya's time and Christina's time. Does anyone else have any last minute questions? If you want to put them in the chat, and if you had a good time and enjoyed this, if you put your comment in the chat, that would be terrific. Um, from Music Row 411, we have some other exciting um, speakers coming this summer. We have a couple new um, features, and that Music Row 411 will be rolling out. Our podcast is almost ready to launch, Three Chords and the Truth. And so, what we would love for you to do is encourage your friends to, share this when it goes up on the replay. Share this with your friends and let them know about what we're doing, and encourage them to sign up for our information, because we send out um, weekly content pieces about cutting edge things like what Maya is doing, or what the trends are. And there's so much changing in every sector. We want you, our community of creators, to have access to those things. And that's why Music Row is different. And we're very proud and excited about what we're doing. So, and you can also send us to assistant at musicrow411.com if you are struggling with something in particular and you would like to see us provide more information about that, or develop something. Please do write us. We read every email, we read every post and comment. Um, so we really do want to serve you in the best way possible. And then, of course, the plug is, please go to our socials, our YouTube channel, and like us, subscribe, and stay plugged in, because there's so many exciting things coming. Um, Anything you can think of, Christina?
Yeah, no, this is a great session. I really thank you, Maya, for your time, and so great just to want to showcase you as just a female founder like Beth, and entrepreneur, like so smart with your knowledge, and this was great, and it just brings so much encouragement, just like we want to encourage songwriters and in their success, like we want to support women, so like you. So thank you, Maya, and thanks, Beth. It was great.
It's a real pleasure. By the way, I'm happy to share some articles. I have already a few in mind that may be suitable.
Because our Freebie Friday going out tomorrow is actually about AI. And I'm in our communication tomorrow, we will also put your website for WAVEI and LyricStudio, so that people can do a deeper dive into what, the science and the innovation behind these magical products. And it's 40% off now, right? People can go to the site, and is there a code that they need to implement or make mention of to get that code?
So at the moment, 40% is wide open.
Okay.
It's time limited, so check it out soon.
That's very generous. Maya, you've been such a wonderful inspiration to all of us tonight. I thank you very much for taking time out of your busy life and your busy day to join us, to help us, to inspire our creators, our magnificent community of like-minded creatives. And we wish you all the best. And last question, will you come back and do a part 2 for us at some time in the future? Because I know there's going to be more really great stuff coming from you.
Oh, absolutely. I'd be honored. Anytime.
Okay. Well, our next guest expert, just for all of you to know, will be on July 22nd, which is a Thursday at 7 p.m. And it's going to be about social media marketing with a very prominent leading thought leader in the social media space. So you don't want to miss that, and we'll be letting you know. So everybody, thanks for joining in. Thanks for joining us on the replay. Stay safe, keep writing, be your brilliant creative selves, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
See ya. Thanks, Maya.